Cups.
Is this the most depressing card in the deck or what?
Could be. It
Uh,
could be. I mean, I learnt it as disappointment, loss. You know, that was the original kind of mindset for me on
yeah,
this.
I learned it as great loss.
Yeah. And you can see that in the card. Oh,
Yeah, she is how
she's in despair, isn't she?
she is in
Yeah.
absolute despair.
Yeah, I mean, the character is the body language, the character is definitely sort of head down, isn't, yeah, it's in a dark cloak and is just looking at everything that's gone.
Yeah, yeah, and he's gotten a reputation lately. Today's sociology just irritates me. Sorry. He's gotten a reputation of being super emo, like overreacting. But
Oh, really?
oh yeah, I know that when he's got those two cups behind him, a lot of people see that as he's ignoring what he still has, and I do believe that that is accurate. He's still got two full cups,
Yeah.
but when you have lost something, a deep devastating blow, grief
Yes.
is not emo. Grief is a very real emotion, and to take that grief away from someone, I think the hardest one I ever had, and I'm skipping around, but I read for a woman who her child had died.
Oh my
And
God.
to me, I think that's the worst thing that can happen to a
Yeah.
person. And she did have another child, but she was in the grieving process.
Mm.
Just the depths of it were so deep that yes, that child was being neglected to a point. The existing child,
Yeah.
but you don't tell a grieving mother, look, you got another kid, get over it. It doesn't work that way. She wasn't being emo. She was going through grief. And to tell her that she was
Yeah.
overreacting would
Oh,
have rightfully deserved a punch in the face. I did point out that she had to make sure that the other child was getting the attention they needed, but I
yeah.
would never ever in a million years have told her to stop grieving, to stop overreacting. It
Well,
was
the
a
other thing about this card is the energy of this card is they have actually lost something. It's not just someone who's feeling sorry for themselves. Like there was something that they once had that they no longer have. So there's a reason for them sort of being emotionally down.
yes.
The card is clearly indicating that.
And I've heard some people say that he kicked over the cups in a temper tantrum or a fit. There's no indication there that he did that. Yes, if it were an intuitive reading and you got that, it could
Yeah,
apply, but there's really no movement there to suggest, overall that he did that on his own. The
yeah,
whole thing of everything we do, we did something to deserve it, or we make our choices and this and that. A death of a child or something, a loss like that is
yeah.
not necessarily made out of a choice you made.
And grief. I mean, if this card is as extreme as actual grief, because this can be just disappointment. You might have lost something that you've spent a week writing on your computer and you've lost it, and that is very disappointing. So it's not
Yes.
necessarily about the loss of a loved one, but let's just say it was the extremity and it was about grief. Grief is an important thing that you have to go through
Yes.
to
It
come to
is
terms with something.
is seriously unhealthy to skip that process. And
Yeah,
nowadays, you've got all the medications that just put you in that fugue state where, you don't deal with it. You just kind of la 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 la. I find that, especially for me, super unhealthy to
Yeah.
not come to grips and not face it, not cry, not go through these motions of coming to terms and
Yes.
and being able, you cannot turn around to see the other two cups behind you if you cannot accept the loss of the three cups in front of
Yeah.
you. It's not
And
possible.
I think that is very personal to different people, how long that would go on for. But
Absolutely.
but it's a completely natural thing to kind of allow yourself to grieve.
Yes. And that's a really big, he's come up several times. Allow yourself to grieve. Don't
Yeah.
act like nothing's happened. Don't put on that happy face every time because somebody said, well, your sorrow's getting old. People suck. Allow yourself to grieve.
I do remember, like, years ago when I got dumped or something from my first sort of important boyfriend, and I just felt like, you know, something had been ripped away and all of that. And I think it was my mum said, "You're grieving. It's the same as grieving, that you
Yes,
don't have that anymore."
absolutely. It
So,
certainly is.
you know, it can apply. It can also apply to, you know, you go up for a job and you really, really want to get it, and you really believe you're going to get it, and maybe you get shortlisted and all of that, and you truly kind of like think it's yours, and then it's taken away from you.
Yeah.
You will go through a form of grieving. It might only be 24 hours or something. You know, it's not the same as grieving a loved one, but we just grieve for things that we emotionally attach to, and then they're taken from us.
Absolutely. Very, very true.
But I got this card. This was my first real experience of the tarot speaking to me, was this card. I resonate with this card because of this story, but as an entertainer, I did this contract every year with a council in London, and I used to get like loads and loads of work on this contract. It was a very big deal. It was a very, very big deal. The annoying thing about it was you had to reapply for it every year. So even though you'd done it for years, you still, because it was through the council, you had to kind of reapply, right, every year to get the gig. And this particular year, I got a letter saying, "Oh, sorry to inform you, we are not going with you on the contract for this year." And I thought, why not? What? Yeah, right. And that they gave you a little explanation or something of why not, and it said I didn't have enough experience, and I just thought, I absolutely went up the wall, right? I went up the wall because this particular contract, I had been part of the original team of people that set up this scheme every year. It was insulting enough that I had to even reapply for it every
Huh?
year,
Yeah.
right? I'd been doing this contract since day one. Now, the one reason I thought they might not use me is maybe they're kind of like, well, they want a bit of variety or something a bit different, or want to try somebody new or whatever. I could think of legitimate reasons why at some point they may decide, you know, to not go with a person that they've used for years and years and years. But to say that I don't have enough experience was so frustrating, right? It was so annoying. So anyway, I phoned up the client and I went, "I'm really, really sorry about this. I do not accept this. I do not accept this." And you know, because I am the sort of person that will confront when necessary. And I said, "How can they say I don't have enough experience?" And she went, "Yeah, well, you know, it was because you didn't put very much on the form." And it was true. All I'd put on the form was see brochure, because like we had like a big brochure that we attached to the contract every year. So on the questions, I would just put see brochure, like all the information is in the brochure, you know, it's, and she went, yeah, well, that just wasn't enough. That just wasn't enough on the form. That's why they've put that. And I was so angry. And I thought, I've been like a loyal and faithful like collaborator on this since day one. If I didn't fill in the form properly, why did you not, when you received the form, contact me and went, I think you better kind of fill in the form more kind of in more detail because they won't accept this, Mandy, right? You know, I mean, the whole thing just, I saw red. Anyway, I was fuming. I was absolutely livid. I was absolutely fuming. And I just thought, I'd not long been doing the tarot. And I thought, I'm going to do a tarot card on this. I'm going to do a tarot card on this, right? You know, I don't know what it's going to say. And this card came up. And I took one look at this card and I thought, oh my God, right. This card gets me. This card understands how I'm feeling, that I've spent all these years building up this relationship with this council and doing all this work and I'm part of it, and it's just like it's all just been kicked over. This card totally gets me and I just burst into tears. But it wasn't so much that, oh my God, the card's right. I just felt understood because the client did not understand how I was feeling, but the tarot did understand how I was feeling. It was unbelievable. It just hit me in such a massive way, this card. I've never forgotten the impact it made. And then obviously, then I was able to see all is not lost. They're not the only client that I've got. You know, maybe if I'm not doing this gig every year, I'll be doing something else instead. And I sort of noticed the standing up cups. I noticed the bridge. I noticed the river. I noticed things are flowing and the thing across the water. And I noticed everything else. But the most important thing I noticed was I felt understood. It was
And
amazing.
that is the essence. That is why clients will come to us, because we understand. You know, the cards help us understand and sympathize or empathize. That, yeah.
It was unbelievable. And the weird thing was, just in case anyone wants to know how the story ended up, but which has got nothing to do with the Five of Cups, I don't know. A few weeks later, I got an email saying, "Oh, these are all the dates that we're booking you for." And I thought,
What?
do you know what? I'm not even going to question this with her. I'm just going to say thank you very much. Yeah, send her the invoice. It was just bizarre. There was no kind of like, there was no like, oh, we've looked at it again, Mandy, and decided you're right. They just booked me in as if I'd never had that letter sort of, you know, sending me off on my way.
Wow.
It was really strange.
That is strange.
But that was not, you know, it was the impact that the Five of Cups made when I was in distress. Just sometimes the cards, you just want to feel that somebody or something understands you, and that's all you need sometimes.
That you're not just acting rebellious, or there's a reason that you feel justified for how you feel. Yeah. And when you mentioned that bridge, you mentioned the bridge in the background. I don't know how I never made this correlation, but I made it when you mentioned the bridge in the way you mentioned it. That could be a good indicator to use your connections to help you get through the grief. You don't have to do it alone. I never saw that before.
Very, very nice. I mean, there's a whole load of hope in this card as well, but I tend to see, I mean, at the time that this card kind of revealed itself to me in such a big way, I wasn't reading in reverse or understanding reverse. I tend to see the two cards behind him when I get it in reverse now.
Yeah.
But I must admit, on that day, I saw everything that the card had to offer.
Yeah, and there is a lot. And it's true that when you're in the depths of grief or when you're disappointed at something, you can't see anything besides that
No.
disappointment. You have to take whatever time you need to be able to work through it. And I
Yeah.
love that this card helped you. That had to be massive disappointment. That's part of your life.
I was disappointed, but I was also very, very kind of like frustrated in how I was treated. You know,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? By a kind of an organization that I'd built up a relationship with over, oh, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, something like that, and been part of the original creation of that particular contract.
Like, treated like you were a non-entity or they didn't know
Yeah,
who you were, a
I know,
stranger.
exactly.
Yeah, and that kind
Anyway,
of thing can hurt. Man, yeah.
but that obviously had nothing to do with, you know, I don't think it's right that every time this card is turned over someone is going to jump to the conclusion that someone's died and you're grieving. It's anything that is a kind of emotional loss,
Yeah.
and where you just feel that something's been ripped away from you
Yeah,
or
like you
taken away
said
from you.
with your breakup of that boy. When you lose a friend or a loved one, even if the friendship ends,
Yeah,
you feel that deep hole where, you think, "Oh man, this was so funny. I got to call so and so," and then I can't. Yeah, it doesn't have to be death or
no, no, no.
finalization, just any kind of loss that affects you in an emotional way.
Yes,
I
yeah.
brought a card, and I think and this is from my Everyday Enchanted. I really need to start reading with this deck. This is amazing. This one does show loss of a loved one, death or loss. But
Uh,
look behind her. It's not the cops. It's the man. So happy to see her that she can't see. It's the woman reaching out to touch her that she can't see, that they are still with her.
that is just gorgeous.
Ah, I love this deck.
That is really beautiful. Yeah, that is gorgeous.
And and when we do, and in this case in grief, we do forget that they're still with us. We don't grieve for them so much as we grieve for our loss of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just liked that beautiful twist there. Oh, look, she even has
Yeah,
wings. She's an angel. I didn't notice
that's
that
gorgeous.
before.
That is really gorgeous. No,
There's a lot of hope in that card.
there's a lot of hope in that card, and there is a lot of, I don't know, thought-provoking stuff in that card. There really, really is. Because, life is all about kind of things coming and going to varying degrees, and handling that it's sometimes what happens to people is very, very kind of extreme and dramatic, but often it can just be lots of like little things, and they can kind of like mount up,
Yeah,
but that is normal life,
yeah,
things coming and going.
yes, it is. But I think when that card comes up with normal life is just take the time and grief, large grief as well. Take the time to allow yourself to process it so that you can turn around and see what else is available.
Yeah,
Never tell somebody it's time to turn around. Only they can know when it's time.
exactly,
Only they can know. But
definitely.
allow them to know that, they're not alone. There is hope there and to take the time to go through the grief.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think the tarot can be such a big comfort to people, and I think the Five of Cups is a really good one for that, to be honest.
Yeah. So
you
many
know
people
um
see it though and and freak out and say, "Oh no," but there's
Yeah.
some beauty going on in there.
No, I think sometimes it's really interesting. I actually had somebody like call me up today. It was all a bit kind of rushed, but they wanted a reading sort of straight away, and I couldn't do it straight away. But anyway, when we finally kind of like got together to do the reading, it did turn out that the lady had had a lot of like losses had happened in a quite a short space of time, and she wanted communication. And I went, let's just stop for a minute. I said, I can do this, but I think I know somebody that would be better than me for this, who I'm really happy to put you in touch with. I'm even happy to phone them now for you to see if they're available. And I sent her over to Anne, because I just thought, I can do this in my way, and the tarot is great, but I think she wants something very specific.
Yeah, yeah, and that is another mark of a fabulous tarot reader, is knowing when someone else would do the better job. Instead of milking her for money, or not milking her, because you don't milk people, but taking her money and giving her that comfort you could offer. You knew Anne's our medium, and
Yes,
Anne could have given her, comfort from her people she lost. So
exactly.
that's amazing. Yeah, knowing when to say, I've got somebody who can help you
But
better.
if she had said, well, no, I don't actually want that kind of direct contact, I just want some advice on how to feel better, then I kind of like think the tarot would have been absolutely perfect.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, I think it's full of comfort, and I don't know, I just think the right things will be said, you know, that are needed at that time. I think it can be very, very comforting, the
Yeah.
tarot.
Yes, it can. It can be comforting. It can be the first step in the process of healing old
Definitely.
wounds
Yeah.
or new ones. It's that first step that
Yeah.
gives you that awareness. Yeah, because
And
sometimes that
I
Five of
would lump,
Cups.
yeah, I would lump the Five of Cups as one of those cards
Yeah,
rather than some terrible, you know, it's as a result of something unpleasant to a certain degree, but I don't see it as being, oh, you're going to suffer a terrible loss or something like that. It feels as though it's more the handling of a loss than
right.
than anticipation of it.
And when it does come up in that area, or that interpretation where, allow yourself to grieve, when somebody's just been ostriching, putting their head in the sand, ignoring what has happened, or just trying to, like when I have grief, the way I tend to deal with it is to do as much as I can to keep myself busy so I don't have to think about it,
Right.
know,
Yeah.
until I lay down in the bed, and then it all comes crashing in. If I got the Five of Cups in a situation like that, it would be saying, you don't have to keep yourself busy. Don't hide from this. And that would be the biggest step to starting to heal.
Yeah. It's a necessary card to have there amongst the 78. It really is.
Well, oh, there are people who will take cards out of their deck because they don't want to have any kind of sorrow or bad things, like the devil, death, the Tower, and the Five of Cups, the Three of Swords. There are cards that certain readers actually take out of their decks because all they want to read about are love and light. But this is real life we're talking about. And if you show me one person that never has a bad day or everything's just hunky dory, that's not a real person. They're faking it all the way. We
Mm,
all experience such a wide range of emotions and experiences every single day. The tarot has to be able to reflect that. Big disappointments, small disappointments. The 5 of Cups is there.
yeah, yeah. But it's an important part of the deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without it, we truly don't have life. And you need to be
Mm,
able to process sorrow to be able to fully appreciate joy.
definitely. Well, that's the 5 of Cups. So yeah. Have you got any more to say about it? Because oh, you have.
No, no, I'm
Oh,
looking at the screen saying, put your comments in if you got anything more
oh
to
yeah,
say
definitely. Put
about
your
it.
comments in. Yeah, subscribe, and I do also think it can be the Let It Go card.
It can be. It can be. You just really have to be, you have to know. Like if your intuition says, let this go, you have got to not second guess yourself, but let it know. Because I have seen it in situations where there's a breakup and they're hoping that he'll come back or she'll come back. And it's like, oh, no, no, let this one go. I have seen it that way.
Yeah,
You know, that you're
yeah,
better off for this. Hard to hear when you're in the depths of it,
yeah,
but in hindsight, yeah, you'd be
yes,
like, yeah, she was right.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And it is it once that liquid is spilt, you could stand the cups back up, but that you cannot get that liquid back and put that liquid back in those cups. It's done.
Yeah.
It is. It's gone.
But you could fill it with new liquid,
Yes,
something that might
good.
be good for you.
Yes.
So it's a complicated card sometimes. It's a hard one to see, but it's a necessary card. It is true to life. And
Mhm.
I really honestly don't think, I think if he's being emo or a drama queen, I think that would be in reverse.
Yeah, I've got to say I've never seen it like that. That is just not resonating with me.
Yeah, on a lot
Like
of the tarot
that.
forums that I'm on, I'm always seeing the whole emo thing, much like everybody saying the 8 of Swords did that to herself. I don't get it. You know, I don't get it. So I think if he were in reverse, yeah, he might be a hell of a drama queen. Like then he would be overreacting for attention. But in the upright, I don't think so.
Funny enough, I see the 5 of Pentacles as a bit more playing the victim
Yeah,
than
yeah.
the 5 of Cups.
No.
But that's just me.
And you know what? When you read it that way, if you've interpreted it that way, the gods are talking to you, so
Yeah,
they know how you're gonna take it. So
yeah.
yeah, there we go.
Marvelous. Well, see you at the 6th.
See ya. Bye.
That should be a bit happier.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can't wait to show you the card I got for that one. So I'll see you soon.
See you in a bit. Bye.